Hello, it's me. This is just Cook, and I'm going to continue to cover the various maps in Standard League today with Sahara. This match is between two new players to my analysis, Punchi, I guess I'll say Punchi, and A330neo. Today they're both playing Sasha. I've played Sahara like once or twice before. I think it's a really cool looking map. You've got the center island that has a few properties on it, and it's linked together in a couple interesting ways. There's these shoals that are connected, the shoals near the center bases that are connected, and on this right side and left, the top right side and the bottom left side, which require camping a neutral base and coming around a corner to contest. But when you come around this corner, you also have the option of branching off to your opponent's headquarters. There's one base that's relatively close to the headquarters per player. The other two are rather far off, and there's the two that are far off tended to be better aggressive bases because there is a straight line that units can take down here to be in range to threaten the HQ. And then on the other base, the neutral base, there's a road that you can take. Something that I've been made aware of by looking at the Discord's strategy channel is that some COs actually do play really different from other COs. Initially I was sort of under the impression that CO choice obviously it matters, but I'm not sure that it was like a huge deal. But in certain matchups, it can be a huge deal. Sasha is able to buy very, very early tanks, which change the way that her opponents have to play the map. But because she won't necessarily get a tank advantage in the mirror, it won't be as big of a deal in this game particularly. I think that the first person to use Market Crash might actually get a really significant advantage, because denying your opponent Market Crash means that they don't get to get the CO power offense and defense boost. And that will be really weird. But it's such a short bar that I'm sure that she'll be able to charge it regardless. So, it seems like Punchi is leaning forward on this aggressive side, the outside, where A330neo is more interested in taking over the middle. Objectively, it seems like there's more to gain from the outside here, but it might be harder to maintain. This base is not good at reinforcing over here. Well, it's alright, it can take this. This is easily blocked, but it can take this lane that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so we've got tanks on the board. Wow. Yeah, this is... Okay, yeah, I was definitely underestimated. Like, you can tell how different Sasha is in this very game by looking at the fact that it's just turn 6, and she has 2 tanks and a recon. If A330neo wants, he could get a tank advantage by building 2 tanks and an infantry this turn. That's what A330neo does. Punchy going with a battlecopter. A330neo is slower, taking his airport, won't be able to respond with a battlecopter this turn, so that's probably signifying an anti-air. Yes. So it looks like A330neo did have a better capture phase overall. These middle properties were taken. I guess it's hard to, I can't look at exactly how many there are. It's 17. Requires a little bit of math. 17 to 14. But I'm pretty sure that Punchi will catch up very quickly. So Punchi gets the first strike on a lot of these units on the left side of the map. Is AA safe? Yeah, probably. Oh yeah, because these are... Man, these armies look really, really similar. Okay, so... It seems like the aggressive force that Punchi has is doing really well because it was able to get a tank to it. Whereas all of A330neo's tanks ended up in the center here. Punchi also has a tank that he just created from his defensive base that's going to be able to push off all these infantry without them receiving some sort of backup. Sasha has enough income where she shouldn't mind making a tank over here in addition to whatever else she needs. She skipped a build this turn. Two tanks and a battle copter with nothing on the most aggressive base. It's sort of interesting. It's obviously really, really aggressive. But he had a unit lead, so that makes it feel a little bit less bad. A330neo getting the comm tower first. Second battlecopter forces out another AA from A330neo. And now, the center forces A330neo are transitioning towards, they're moving up through the northeast part of the center island to start hitting, start pressuring the HQ. I'm curious to see where this battlecopter will go. It feels like Punchi's a little bit obligated to take it towards the right side of the map, but there's an AA over there. She does take it to the right side of the map. But I don't think that it's going to stop this A from moving up. Maybe this group of infantry is going to make A330neo stay and try to fight. Medium tank coming out for Punchi, that's a big deal. Guessing that means that A330neo is just going to build one in response over here. Neither of these players built artillery at all. I don't know if artillery is just not all that interesting to build as Sasha, because if you have the funds to build an artillery, you basically have the funds to build a tank. And if your opponent is just spamming loads and loads of tanks, then it feels very difficult to be able to support an artillery. Enough tanks will just be able to punch through whatever defenses you have for it. Maybe the medium tank will necessitate one. The thing is that Punchi doesn't have a single AA. It's a little strange. So yeah, the battle copter is coming out in response to the medium tank, I guess. As long as Punchi does not have anti-air, then why not? Jeez, this thing can move super far because these are shoals and then roads and then up there. This forest doesn't really bother it very much. A330neo's battlecopter that he's got on this left side of the map is doing a lot of work for him on defense. Okay, so here comes the AA guns. And yet another battlecopter. This copter is gone. It's really difficult for A330neo to punish this in the way that he'd like. I think it's going to come down to whether the tank and the copter can kill the infantry on this city on their own. The positioning of this anti-air ended up being really unfortunate. It's just a little bit too committed in this spot. It's a really good formation for Punchi though. Okay, this is looking pretty rough. But she's got a lot of stuff going. So, A330neo just trying to block this medium tank from being able to get to the center. He doesn't want it there. It will probably do well enough. 3 units is pretty rough here. Wonder what the market crash was for. It was really late in the turn. Maybe just to deny the potential war bonds. It's at AA, and this is what A330neo really wanted to avoid. Okay, so yeah, it seems like A330neo's defensive force in the southwest is almost totally wiped out. He doesn't really have any aggression in the top and the northeast either. Feels like this is I don't know. Is this over? There's a couple of things that make me feel like it's probably more over than it really is. One is the medium tank has just not been properly addressed. The fact that almost all of the troops that A330neo has are just like going to die to. They're gonna get one shot by either like the medium tank or the anti-air guns or something like that. Like he just doesn't have anything to stand up to it. Okay, so here's the medium tank. This is a comeback factor. This is really, really greedy. He maybe misunderstood how far this could move. Oh, that's even worse. I don't know, like A330neo is keeping in it. It just doesn't feel like he's got a positioning lead at all. Hopefully he'll be able to do something with the just because with market crash. Interesting. Okay. He's been able to push out a little bit. He's been able to sort of reestablish himself. Just market crashes every turn now. I just want to pretend that they're Von Bolt, I guess. It's the adder strats. I think that the thing that isn't happening, and maybe can't happen because the way this map is laid out, is a retreat to reorganize forces. When I see a lot of high-level players play, when something starts going poorly, they're not afraid to just kind of cut losses, move back, reestablish a line of troops that they can move forward with, that's properly covering one another. This center, the center, I think is designed to be just a brawl, so maybe that's not the case here. But certainly, I think that on this side, A330neo might be able to pull back and then get just survive, have his units survive one turn by pulling back and being properly covered by whatever he builds from this base in like a battle copter, and then try to push forward again. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look to see if there's like a specific turn. It would have been really good for A330neo to try that, but just constantly sending like a wave of troops to the front to die, it doesn't seem to be the way to go. This is the first artillery all game. It's turn 16. Wonder what about turn 16 that made Punchi say, yeah, it's time to build an artillery. What I'm really lacking is just an art. See, over here, this is really good. This is kind of what I was talking about, like the ability to move through here with a line of troops that are or protected by this medium tank. Like, this is exactly what A330neo needs on this side of the map. This is exactly what Punchi is establishing on this part of the map. The difference is that this is a much more powerful, it has a lot, offensive potential than this group. The net worth difference is massive right now. There's a bomber out for Punchy too. I won't do. Okay, I want to go back. A330neo did fight that one out quite well. But where did it start, and did he have a chance that he could have backed off? That's the two questions that I want answered. It's not easy to do. Okay. So it seems like it's kind of happened at this time. If you look at like turn 7, turn 6, turn 7. Okay, so here they're pretty even. So what's going to happen? What's wrong with these? Nothing that strikes me immediately is really bad here. This infantry is protected by this tank. This infantry is protected by this tank. Both of these tanks, if they move forward, will be protected by this tank next turn. So what happens? The battlecopter happens. So A330neo does have a tank advantage now. Like he should be able to control the center, even with the battlecopter coming out with first turn advantage. This is good positioning on this tank. Ah, okay. Maybe this is what went wrong. Is that this tank is able to move so aggressively up here onto this position? That's like a pretty big difference. Is that A330neo doesn't want to let this tank do things like that. Where does he respond? Just backs off. I don't know what the point of these moves are. Okay, so what happens this turn? There's 2 infantry die in the center. This tank starts messing with A330neos men in the southwest. Okay, so I suppose this is like, this is a turn where A330neo could have just sort of backed off and played defensively, but didn't. He wanted to punish the recon for existing, and I don't blame him. I get infuriated when I see recons too. This isn't where this needed to be, probably. The tanks did need to be in the center, but they probably should have been protected by these 2 infantry and the city and the other 2 tanks. So to have like the 2 infantry here and like these 2 vehicles like on the shoals or something. Maybe that wouldn't have been sufficient. Maybe they just would have been attacked. Maybe have the infantry block the artillery so that there's the tank and there's the tank here, and there would have been like a tank behind it somehow. That might be decent because this tank isn't going to die to like 2 things attacking it here, and if the might not even die to 3 things attacking it because it doesn't look like there's another tank that can hit it. Nothing could have 2-shot the tank here, I don't believe. Okay, so maybe these could have 2-shot the tank, but then what? I mean, you'd have gotten the counterattack on the tank with 2 tanks, and then the counterattack on the copter with the AA gun. Or a worst case scenario, maybe they're being blocked in a way that you don't get the counterattack on the tank with 2. Trading tanks seems like a good thing when you have the tank lead. Suppose that he couldn't guarantee that he would always have the tank lead, but he didn't overreact to the bottom right, but maybe you should have been more prepared for it. Even after that, it wasn't like too bad. Leaving this tank here as bad as it seems, it's gonna get hit by these 2. It can be hit by 3 tanks this turn. That's they just back off. I don't know about this anti-air. Obviously, I mentioned earlier that I thought they needed something to do with the medium tank, and that was just never built really. It was built super late. I think that A330neo probably wanted like an anti-air to deal with this third of the map, one to deal with this third of the map, and one to deal with this third of the map. And he would have had that with this 3. But having 3 battlecopters is good enough to deal with the battlecopter here and there. And the medium tank is just it gets so much value. Just attack that bad. Okay, so this attack is only that bad because of the movement down here. It's so funny that moving this anti-air here as opposed to this forest, exactly the same terrain tile next to it, might have actually cost A330neo so much of this game. Maybe this just wasn't a good attack to begin with. So he moves the battlecopter to hit this infantry, which might be able to take this. It will start to take the city. But he knows that this B-copter is here, which isn't any good. And then the anti-air gun behind it is going to start moving down, pretty obviously. It doesn't have anywhere else to go. If you just left this alone, if you just backed off with this copter here, kept it alive, he has this tank, so he could contest these two. He could see how he forms up and go in or not. Like, even if, who cares if Punchi gets, you know, these properties right now? Yeah, they're worth 10% more because, like, Sasha mirrors and all, but I mean, at this level of funds, what's the difference? What's 1100 more funds gonna get? It goes from 2300 100 income to 2400 200 income, or 2500 300. It's 25. Is any of those numbers really significant? You can get, none of them allow you to build 3 things. None of them allow you to build a medium, a regular tank, and an infantry. I would think that that's like a critical mass. Like, when somebody's able to build that, I don't think you have a chance if you aren't able to match it. You could skip a build into it, and I don't think that you can at this level of income. Oh, you could. You could skip a build and do that right now. You wouldn't be able to heal. Might not matter. You get 2 2 regular tanks, a battle copter, and an infantry. How much is that? That's 10,000. It's 24,000. So you could build a regular tank, an anti-air, and a battle copter. That's actually pretty good because that wins you all the rock paper scissors that you could want, and still have an infantry. That's probably also like a form of critical mass, is being able to build 1 regular tank, 1 battle copter, and 1 anti-air every turn. Because there's nothing that you can build that deals with all of those units effectively if you can't match that production. The tanks that you build are going to get outclassed by the tanks in the battle copters, and the anti-airs that you build are going to be outclassed because your opponent has the option of rotating the anti-air to 2 tanks. So that's actually a pretty significant income disparity. But I've mused on this long enough, I feel. It was really subtle stuff. This map seems really hard. It's not clear which front you should fight on. It is clear that when your opponent builds a medium tank, you need to develop a response to it, I'll say that. Be wary of parking units where something could move in front of them. Even if it doesn't attack them, it means that you have to change your activation order in ways that your opponent gets to dictate. They know, like, this play here where A330neo moves the anti-air into this forest. Punchi knows that he wants to swing this at the copter, but he can't if he has to go through this infantry to do it, and it's in front of like this. There's no path to it, and so it's a really, really good block. Big props to Punchi for making that block, really. This block here. This is really, really smart stuff. Punchi would not have been able to do this if the anti-air was on this tile. Then, if the anti-air was on this tile, then it would be a simple matter of moving the infantry up to kill this, and then moving the copter out and the anti-air in. I don't think the anti-air would have survived, but it would have done its job of taking out the battle copter. Yeah, I'm done. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Once I get to 100 subscribers, I'll be hosting a community tournament with open entry, free to the public. Everybody can join, and there will be cash prizes. So definitely want to hit 100 subs, get the nice shortened URL to show my friends and family. And once I do that, we'll have a powwow. It'll be great. I'll see you guys in the next video. Good luck.